You'll love that.
Download our app today and enjoy tackle-busting benefits with great odds, more markets and same-game multi every NRL match at Palmerbet. Gamble responsibly. For Gamblers' Help, call 1-800-858-858.
Hello and welcome to episode 427 of Fergo on the Freak. I'm that weak gutter dog Andrew RLP on Twitter. And joining me is that other weak gutter dog League Freak. You can also find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, you weak gutter dog?
Not bad, you weak gutted dog. We got a lot to answer for things that we did when we were 11.
Yeah, look, I think I might have said some kid was dumb. So you know, I'm a weak gutted dog.
I swore at one of my classmates.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was one of the bad swear words too, one of the 4-letter ones.
Oh yeah.
So it was. Probably still hates me for it.
Probably. Well, look, it's been a good purge. I'm glad I got that off my chest.
Yeah. Well, you've got to confront these things, you know. I mean, all of the things you did as a child, basically going forward, it turns you into a weak gutted dog.
That's right. We have to be clear on this. So you know, everyone knows where we stand now when it comes to us.
Yes. We are both weak gutted dogs.
We are. We're not going to hide from that.
Nah.
Now the difference between us and say Ricky Stuart is, and I'm reading this directly from one Paul Kent.
Okay.
Ricky Stuart could have easily rolled over and explained why he said what he said to gain sympathy, but he's made he said, but he's as in Ricky Stuart. This is the Ricky Stuart who held a grudge for 12 years over what a pre-teenager did in something to do with the game of footy with his own child.
Yeah, a little boy.
Yeah. That Ricky Stuart, is made of stronger stuff. He doesn't hold a grudge against 11-year-old kids for 12 years. He doesn't do that because he's made of stronger stuff. And so the way Paul Kent went about proving that Ricky, a grown, he would have been in his 40s at the time, I'm assuming, 30s or 40s, holding a grudge against an 11-year-old kid, holding on to that for over a decade, that stronger stuff that makes Ricky Stuart. Paul Kent went on to prove that he's made of stronger stuff by shitting on Mark Guy's family.
Yeah, I saw that. First of all, the first thing that come out of it for me is that, and I've said this before, people and their analogies are fucking dumb. Okay.
Well, I'm surprised he didn't just immediately go straight to Nazi Hitler. Isn't that usually the go-to? I mean,
normally,
Guy, I mean, that's a weird half step.
Yeah, people will say like this thing is just like this other thing, and you just want to say you're an idiot, and no, it is not. It is nothing like it. You are talking about two completely different situations, and look, the thing I think we've seen over the last, particularly 24 hours, because like we've talked about the Ricky Stuart thing, and I think the actual situation has been pretty well covered. But the aftermath of it and seeing the way that the media has generated negativity and clickbait, and they just continually do this. And I'm surprised that, like, I mean, the thing is, I'm surprised that Paul Kent had time to write an article, considering that it seems like he's too busy filleting fucking Ricky Stuart all the time. You know?
Wait, it's a slurp on Ricky, slurp on a beer. You know, you take it in turns. I did say what was it, 2 days ago, I was curious how this whole situation would unfold in the media. And I guessed then that the mainstream media guys will attempt to verify Stuart's claim by revealing anything negative about Salmon since birth.
And you nailed it.
Nailed it. And he's surprised. I mean, Stuart's mates with half these journos, and it's because he's mates with Steve Crawley, the more important brother, I guess, out of the two. Paul's nobody. But Paul Kent and what he wrote today, it's a distraction to take heat off Stewart, and B, the work of a maggot.
Yeah, the thing that gets me is that we have corporate media and they're not mainstream because their ideas and their opinions and what they push are not part of the mainstream thinking. The corporate media, and in particular, there's a group of about 10 people that we see on TV shows, and then they say something and then their corporate media decides that that's the story, and they generate their own publicity out of it. Because none of this is talking about the game of rugby league. It's not involved in the game of rugby league.
That's the first step, though. We could probably do an episode on how to be a mainstream journo. The first step when writing any article is to take the story away from what goes on the field, because they don't watch it and they don't understand it.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that gets me is that you'll see online a lot of people saying, "Oh, the mainstream media, I can't believe it." And it's like, why do you keep reading it then? You're feeding into it. I can't, and I don't watch NRL 360. Used to a few years ago, and we talked about it on the podcast. We'd be like, "Oh, did you see 360 last night? That was a bit silly."
Let's be honest, though. We watched it mostly to provide content for this.
Well,
but after a while, we went, we don't need that dog shit in our lives to create content, and we proved that by, sure, we scaled back from 35 episodes a week to 30.
I never watched it for content. I used to watch it because it was something to watch. I'd chuck it on. It's a bit of footy stuff, and
but that's the difference between you. You are a genuine league freak, so you don't need it for content. I kind of do.
All right. I just think that it's almost like a wheel, where it's like something happens in the game. The journalist says something about it that is outrageous and on purpose. These things are calculated. There's a reason why these people are in these roles, because they say these outrageous things. Then they write about the outrageous thing that is said, and then we get the reaction to the outrage, and it's just this circle that goes around. And look,
it's only the reaction from their colleagues.
Yeah, and so they generate their own stories within the organisation, and then they're not talking about rugby league, and this is just another example of it. And I just think that it's time that NRL clubs and the league itself starts to have a look at these people who have media passes and have access to the game and start cutting them off, because they're not doing anything for the game. The whole old school thinking of it was, look, I write about rugby league and that generates you free publicity, and so you give me free access to the game. That doesn't happen anymore. They generate negative publicity for themselves, and they use it using the game as a vehicle, and that should not be allowed to happen. And I think that it's imperative for the clubs in the NRL to sit down and think about their media strategy. They shut down the NRL, studios and the NRL's ability to generate its own media. And as soon as they did that, they turned putrid. The corporate press turned into this putrid, disgusting thing, more so than it was already. And the NRL should have a real good think about that. I doubt that they will. I'm sure Andrew Abdo will go out and talk to all of these scumbags, say a lot, do nothing, and because they're in with these media fucking maggots themselves.
Fully agree. It's a self-serving, sycophantic fucking cycle. It's horrible. I hate it. It's deplorable. It makes it hard to enjoy the game when you've got all of this. It used to be outside bluster you could switch off, but now they give these fuckheads gigs on the sideline actually calling the game. Hooper's now a sideline commentator.
And he's so bad at it.
Infiltrating us in the bloody games now. Yeah,
and James Hooper, I heard, I think it was on the weekend, Warren Smith was calling the game, and he'd be like, this player got this try and this is the score now, and so-and-so's gone off. And then James Hooper says the exact same thing. And I swear you could hear it in Ron Smith's voice when they crossed back to him. It was like, I just fucking said that. Like, he's just repeating what I'm saying. And he does it the whole game. And look, it doesn't detract from my personal enjoyment of the game because I see it as outside noise, right? It isn't rugby league. This is just a bunch of angry old men yelling into the cloud, saying shit that is just putrid and hateful. And it's not about enjoying rugby league. It's just this weird other thing. I don't even know what you categorize it as. It's not like they're even being critical of people within the game. They're just yelling horrible shit. I don't get it. I don't know why people pay for it. I don't know why people watch it, but they do. And I think that it's up to people to just switch it off because that's the business model. The business model for someone like a James Hooper is that he sits down to do his stupid little blog, whether it actually is him or not, and people spread it around and they say, oh, what he's saying is ridiculous. That's his business model. Stop feeding it.
But I don't mind if he's got that business model. I just don't want it involved in the game of football than when I'm watching it. I don't want that shit in my face. I want to be able to just turn off James Hooper, but be able to turn on rugby league and watch it. I don't want that dickhead being involved in the game. Sits on the sideline very much every time. The one thing you'll always hear from him, you'll have one of the first comments in the second half. You'll go, enter the name of the team that's behind on the scoreboard. Needs to score first here. No fucking shit, dickhead.
It's like
that's not insight.
Yeah, look, if you watch Channel 9, they've got some sideline people who they'll be like, breaking news, so-and-so has passed their HIA, they'll be okay. And it's like, that's not fucking breaking news. What the fuck are you talking about?
At least they'll go to the dressing rooms. You know that James Hooper has zero interviewing techniques or knowledge. So he wouldn't even go into the dressing sheds. They wouldn't even let him in there. They're just going, who's that dumb old ball prick out there yelling? What's he doing? We think he's trying to be a journalist. I don't want him near here. And he wouldn't be trying to be a journalist. He wouldn't be asking questions. He's probably on the phone to fucking Macca's or something to try and get some food. He's too scared to talk to people. That's because he knows I'll tell him to fuck off all the time.
But the thing is, the NRL gives out media passes, right? Yeah. You've got to have a media pass to be on the sideline, okay? And
well, at NRL level anyway.
No, you do it low grades level. I've seen it. You've got to have
that must be only a new thing that they've brought in because when I was doing reporting, New South Wales Cup games, mind you, it was about a decade ago. Mm-hmm. I just walked onto the ground and walked up and down the sideline and no one said anything.
Look, to be fair, at some games you could probably still do that. But I know that when I was at games, and I'm thinking about one in particular, it was the New South Wales Cup Grand Final. Okay. Don't want to brag, kind of a big deal. But, and the funny thing is I never had a media pass. But people I remember there was a game that it was the New South Wales Cup final day, and there was only certain people that could go down and interview people that were coming off the field that were on the sideline because they had the right qualifications on their media pass. I didn't need a media pass because kind of a big deal. So, but the NRL at NRL level, you definitely need them. And look, it's up to the NRL to say, what does this person bring to our overall entertainment package? And if all they bring is anger and hatred and shit, don't give them a media pass. They're not adding anything.
I remember working for a media organisation, a smaller one, an independent one, and they were tempted to try and get media passes for their staff. Well, paid writers, so they were being legit. And one of the things that was in the application was, do you agree not to write anything slanderous about the NRL? I was like,
really?
How come we're being asked that? Did you have a look at what you said on the Daily Telegraph website?
That's funny.
Fucking hell.
See, I remember I was asked to get a media pass to do the commentary, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. And I was asked really nicely again, and they were like, look, it'd be really cool if you did. And so I said, all right, I'll have a look. And they wanted so much information. I was like, I'm not giving these fucking people this information. Like, get fucked, you know? It's just a bunch of people in rugby league want all your information. It's like, fuck off. So I never got one, and it never was a problem for me. But I was just calling games. I wasn't going down on the sideline and stuff. Yeah. And I was also just calling games. You know, I wasn't muckraking and stuff like that. But I just think that the NRL really has to think about its media strategy, because at the moment, if you look at what's happened over especially the last 72 hours or so, none of this is positive for the NRL. None of it at all. No. I don't know why it's taken so long to hand down a decision over Ricky Stuart and what he did. And I don't know why the NRL would continue to give access to people that just scattergun bullshit every single fucking day at the game. It makes no sense to me.
Oh, none at all. Now, look, there's talk here that Ricky Stuart could get a two-match suspension. So what's the point of that?
Yeah. Well, look, I said on the last episode, I think $50,000 fine and suspended for the rest of the year.
Well, suspension just seems weird, especially if the Raiders are not looking to be a finals force. What's the suspension going to do? Who gives a shit? Just hand him a heavy fine.
Look, the reason
and maybe he can donate the money to the RSPCA to help all the weak-gutted dogs out there. Maybe they can get a bit better.
Maybe get him some worming tablets or something.
Exactly. Do something positive with the money. But make it a big fine, a really big fine, and just say, you've got a bit of a reputation, Ricky, for blowing up about all sorts of shit in the media, at the NRL and stuff like that. So how's about we give you this massive fucking fine and you agree to pull your head in and stop acting like a child and start being that strong-willed person Paul Kent's trying to say that you are. Because he goes off his handle over the slightest things all the time.
Well, that's why I would do the 50,000 fine in conjunction with a suspension. And I tell you why, because Ricky Stuart has been doing this shit for 20 fucking years, and I just think that there needs to be some sort of bigger consequence. I don't think suspending him is going to send any message. I think you give him a $300,000 fine. The reason,
give the club the same as well.
That's starting to get into NBA fine territory.
Yeah, but as you said, he's been doing this for 25 years. I don't think giving him a suspension is going to do anything. I think if you give him a massive fine and just say, pull your head in because this is what you're going to cop. And furthermore, the next time you do it, we're going to double the fine. Just think about that and give the same fine to the club as well. Say, you know what? You've done nothing to stop this and curb this behaviour, so you deserve a punishment as well.
You know what I would do if that happened to me and I was Ricky Stuart? I would go to the Raiders and say, sack me. Because
the NRL wins.
Well, here's the thing. If you go to the Raiders and they sack you, you've got zero obligations to the NRL. And we saw that in terms of something that happened, and I'm not going to name names, but up in Brisbane, there was a salary cap audit that was going on, and somebody that was involved in that audit decided to quit. And as such, they had no obligations to speak to anyone at the NRL because they weren't involved in the NRL.
That's right.
Now, and so that's what I would do if it was that much. But I also think that if you fine someone $300,000, my guess is there are probably tax implications in regards to that.
Look, there might be, but you've got to send a stronger message. I don't think a suspension to a coach sends any strong message at all. I think a massive fucking fine, knowing that he hasn't cheated, he hasn't done anything to give his team an unfair advantage, unlike what happened in Brisbane you were mentioning. So if he decides to leave the game and he doesn't pay his fine, it doesn't matter. The NRL's not any worse off because of it, and the integrity of the game hasn't been impacted in any way negatively either. So it's a more of a win-win situation. Either they get 600 grand or Ricky Stuart leaves, and they put an end to this stupid circus that goes on. And you should never have a situation anywhere where any media that's got any spine and balls about it is playing favourites and defending people who don't deserve to be defended, when they sit there and put a blowtorch to other coaches for doing far less.
Yeah, and look, it all comes back to the first thing is like I don't understand why anyone would feel like they need somebody to carry their water for them. I don't understand that. And I don't understand how you couldn't. What Ricky Stuart did was at the very, very least stupid. It was stupid to just bring all of that scrutiny upon himself. It was just stupid.
I reckon he does that, though, knowing that he'll get away with it because he's got friends in the media who will help him out there. And sure enough, they've tried to do that by getting king shit himself, Paul Kent, to somehow muddy the waters and get Mark Guy involved. And I'm not going to go down and talk about what he did with the whole Mark Guy thing because that would be playing into the distraction he wants. This needs to be about Paul Kent and Ricky Stuart and the dumb shit they've done together.
I agree, but I will say this. I hope Mark Guy runs into Paul Kent at some point.
Accidentally, at night, in a dark alley. They just accidentally bump into one another.
I've seen people saying, imagine a celebrity. No, none of that shit. You'd bump into him somewhere.
Yeah.
Because Mark Guy wouldn't have to raise his voice. Mark Guy wouldn't. No one would need to hear what they said being within sight of them. Mark Guy would make Paul Kent piss his fucking pants.
Mark Guy doesn't even need to say a word. He doesn't need to do anything physically. He doesn't have to be imposing. He doesn't even have to look at him. He just needs to know where Paul Kent's working, which he probably does. And just make sure he's walking past the window a few times, just so that Kent knows he's there. And then, when Kent goes to the pub later on, just walk past the pub window and make sure he sees him there. That's it. It's not stalking. He's just going for a casual walk around the block.
It's like there's a scene in The Dark Knight Rises where there's one of the bad guys is basically talking about his plans, and Bane is there with him, and Bane tells this guy's offside or he's second in command. He says, leave. And the bad guy says, no, don't leave. I'm in charge. And Bane just places his hand on his shoulder and says, do you feel like you're in charge? And that's all it would take. Mark Guy is smarter than that.
Oh, of course.
And that would be...
He's not going to let these emotions get the better of him, and he's not going to do something stupid. He's got that out of his system when he was playing footy.
But not only that, that's exactly what somebody like a Paul Kent would want, because it would generate him content. That sort of reaction is not the right reaction.
No.
But God damn.
Anyway, look, we've spoken enough about Ricky Stuart and all that sort of crap. There's a few little things here. So, yeah, there was a talk that Ricky Stuart get a too much suspension. The NRL look like they've handed down their decision on the West Tigers controversial loss to the Cowboys. And they've decided that, fuck you, Tigers, the Cowboys win. I mean, who did see that coming?
It turns out that results are results.
Yeah, and they're
shocked
final.
Me. Yeah,
final results are final somehow.
Yeah, and I don't know that I can't believe this next bit of news that the West Tigers are not going to pursue legal action to get those 2 points back.
You'd think for a club that's got a man from a legal firm at the top of the tree there, you'd think he'd understand, just how much of a case he had here. Why would you threaten this? So stupid.
So stupid.
So thanks for all that wind and bluster, Chairman Lee. That was great, dickhead. What else has been going on?
Well, there's news that Papa Lee is trying to get out of his West Tigers contract. He said he's got the contract for next year, and he said he's not sure whether he's going to be committed to it. And I see different reactions to it. People saying, well, he signed a contract, he should honour it. I get that. But I also get that he's in a good situation at Parramatta. He's playing good footy.
I think he actually signed up because he wanted to play under a system that Michael Maguire was going to put in place around him.
Yeah, I believe
what
there
he was
was that
interested
too.
in. Now that Maguire's gone, he's not going to have that there. And you go, well, that contract changes when one of the person who signed it is now no longer with the club.
But not only that, I think that any professional within the game of rugby league would look at what is currently going on at the West Tigers and say, no, thank you. I don't want any part of that, not even for extra money, because it's going to cost you in the end. Like, you're going to be playing in a bad side for a very long time. So I also look at his situation, the player, and say, like, I get it completely. And I can't be mad at him for that.
No, I've got no issue with any player at any club wanting to turn their back. Because at the end of the day, you can't have a situation where you're forcing a player to be somewhere, especially if they don't want to be there. Whether they've signed a contract in the middle of one or about to go into one. And it's got nothing to do with the player themselves or the club themselves. This is about, you can't have a restriction of trade.
Well,
who wants to have a player at their club who doesn't want to be there?
That's a good point. And the other thing is, like, it's funny when you hear people saying, but a contract's a contract. It's like, are you serious? Do you see what happens with these? Like, since when is a contract a contract? And they'll say, well, in the business, then they do this analogy thing. Like, in the business world, it's like they're playing sport, you idiot.
Yeah.
Shut up.
We don't go and sign a 3-year contract to go and work at the local 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
You sign an employment arrangement. And it's the same sort of thing, except with the ones that the footy players sign it is, we agree to let you pay us a fee that I agree that you pay me for the next 3 years. And then there's always an option on there. It's going to be a player option, a club option. There's another type of option on there as well, where they can choose what sort of clauses they can have to get out of that contract if they want to. Because nearly every contract has a get-out clause. People talk about a contract's a contract. What happens over, you take what goes on in England an awful lot, okay? When a club goes broke and they can't afford to pay you anymore. All those players that were with the Toronto Wolfpack, are they just supposed to stand around in Toronto for the next 3 years while their contract runs to an end? Of course not. Contracts have got get-out clauses for all sorts of reasons to protect the player. That's the way the game was set up. That's what they've been constantly working on fixing from the 60s.
But the thing is too, like when people say a contract's a contract, and I just think of how many players have been tapped on the shoulder over recent years, especially. Yeah. You look at the Roosters, how many players have said, you know what, you're our favourite son 18 months ago. But now you should go to fucking play for Salford or some shit.
And other than the absolute elite of the elite players, I would not be surprised at how high the percentage of players there are out there that have broken some contract at some stage. And sometimes you can break a contract not even to leave the club, just to negotiate a better wage. You just go, you know what, I think Robbie Farah may have done it. Where, don't quote me on this, I could have the player wrong. I do remember there was a player, might have been at the Tigers, where they were on a pretty low wage, but became pretty good pretty fast, and so they wanted a contract to be increased. So break the contract, negotiate a higher deal, sign a longer contract, away you go. And that is very commonplace. Contracts get broken for all sorts of reasons. Family reasons, personal reasons, injury reasons, to downgrade a contract, upgrade one, to, juggle the salary cap. You might want to see if you can get one bloke to take $100,000 less, so you can upgrade another one or buy another one. No one makes an ironclad contract because you can't work around it. You need things to be a little bit liquid so you can sort of manage things a lot more easily. No one, clubs or players, want a rock solid contract. They want that freedom to move around with it.
Yeah, and I guess the last thing on it all is like, what is it worth to a club to have a bunch of guys there that actually want to be there? And I think that's been one of the strengths of the Panthers They're all really happy to be there. They all like one another. That chemistry they've got has been a gigantic part of their success. And how many times have we seen a player not want to go to a club or not want to stay at a club, and it just becomes a distraction. It becomes a sore point with fan base. That player's form normally drops a bit, and you just don't need those things at your club. You don't need those distractions. You look at the teams that are going in a good direction. They sort of they fix those issues. Even if a player is leaving at the end of the year, they will say, look, you've got a better contract elsewhere. We're happy to see you go. If you want to go early, you're more than happy, but we're happy to have you here. Let's just get on with it now. And I think of someone like a Brandon Smith at the Storm in that regard. I once again, I just can't imagine anyone looks at the current, West Tigers system and says, oh yeah, I want to be part of that. And Parramatta's not perfect, but damn, it's a lot more stable than the West Tigers and a better run club, weirdly enough, than the West Tigers, which is kind of crazy to think about, but it's true.
Well, it's not that weirdly enough. An article which I don't know why it surprised me a little bit came out on the NRL website on Monday, yesterday, saying that the final rosters for 2022 have been confirmed.
Oh, I guess that is.
I was like, that feels a few months late.
Yeah, I guess that's in regards to you can't sign anyone now going into the finals.
Yeah, so there's an August 1 deadline for the 2022 squads to be completed, the 30-man rosters to be completed. Yeah. I assume that's their attempt to try and stop trades during the finals.
Yeah, well, it used to be the June 30 deadline, and they changed it. And, yeah, it's so that you can't – it's basically so you're locked in for the finals. What they don't want is to, say, get in the finals and, and I just use an example, say the Panthers lost Nathan Cleary and there was some great halfback that was playing in Super League. There's not, but just say there was. They signed him on a 3-match deal. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was looking through it and I wasn't really interested in what the 16 teams are because we've already seen them. I wanted to go and see who Wayne Bennett's got for the Dolphins squad so far for next year. And he hasn't got the 30 players yet. But I dare say he's probably going to get some local juniors to come in to fill the numbers up because he's only missing like 4 or 5 players.
Yeah, he's almost there, yeah.
But I'm looking at it. It's a fairly solid mix of depth players, a few genuine starters, some experienced players, some young guys. Does feel a little hodgepodge.
Yeah, which it's an expansion team. And this is how they all feel.
And I suppose he's only had 12 months. It's not like he's been able to get 2 years would have been handy because he could have got players coming off contract in the second year as well and actually build a really good core squad around. Yeah. And could have given these guys a bit of a trial run as well in games and the like. But he's got to sort of build it in less than 12 months, get it all together and get them training together and hopefully get them to gel. The one name on there that he's got which intrigues me the most is Anthony Milford.
Me too. It's interesting you say that. Watching him play, I go between he's a first grader, but then there's other times I'm like, he's probably he's the type of player that an expansion club ends with, And the thing that you'll see the media will attack the Dolphins. The thing that they're forgetting is this is the first team on the first day that they will play a game. This isn't their forever team,
No, that's right.
You've got to kind of get who you can get to start with. And look, I think their squad is just what you would expect from an expansion club. They're getting guys that are towards the end of their careers, but that will be, they're not done yet.
No, they're going to be pretty handy.
Yeah, are they going to win? They'll win some games, I think. Do you reckon that the squad they've got And keeping in mind they're going to be coached by Wayne Bennett, do you reckon with the squad they've got that they're better than the West Tigers?
Yes.
I tend to agree.
The thing they've got, which looks handy, is their spine doesn't look poor. So usually a lot of mistakes that teams have made when they've signed Milford is they've made him halfback. You need him running. If he's going sideways, he's doing nothing for you but killing your attack. But if he's got someone else doing a lot of that creation stuff and he's just running into gaps and throwing the odd good pass here and there, putting the odd good kick, he's very handy and very, very dangerous that way. And with Sean O'Sullivan there at halfback, I think Milford could prove to be a smarter buy than people will give him credit for.
Yep.
And if it doesn't work, he's got Cody Nikorima there as well. Jeremy Marshall-King at hooker, I dare say. It's a solid enough playmaking group there. I assume Asako will be fullback. So the spine's pretty solid. And that's your main thing. That's the bit you want the most. He's got a few good forwards there. The Bromwich brothers.
Yeah.
Few good finishes here and there. It's not a horrible squad. The go forward looks all right. Jared Wallace, Jesse Bromwich. That's a pretty handy front row. I don't know. It doesn't look that bad. Mark Nichols is there with Kenny Bromwich in the second row. Felice Kafusi, I know he's at the end of his career, but that's got a bit of punch about it.
Yeah, they know what to do, those players. And, there's also a lot of players there that have played rep football, so they know how to gel pretty quickly as a team. And he's obviously focused more on his forward pack than anything else, which I think is the smart way to go about it. The other thing that people will forget is that this isn't just a license that was handed out to a consortium. This is a football club. They've got grades, and so they'll have players that will be coming through probably even next year that will come into first grade. So, there's going to be people that will be like, oh, there's not enough talent, blah, blah, blah. And I just think that, there's been one expansion team I can think of in all of human history that was good from the get-go, and that was the Melbourne Storm. And look at the Melbourne Storm club. They're an anomaly. I think the better gauge is maybe someone like a Gold Coast Titans when they come into the competition. And they were able to target a few higher quality players who were off contract. But I think that that's the sort of region you should be looking for, where they can be inconsistent. If they hook everything up and they get a little bit more talent in there, they might make the finals in a couple of years' time. But, to expect them to come out of the gates and be one of the contenders, that's not going to happen, and that's okay.
Look, most of the players that Bennett has signed are on 2-year deals.
Yeah.
Right. So I think he's still got 4 spots open, even when you include the development list. So that means basically 8 players he can sign for next year. And when you look at what he has signed so far, he's been pretty good with his salary cap, which means he's probably got a big chunk of cash left over as well. So he might just be looking to get set up and solid in that first year, knowing that he's got a big wad of cash to spend on whoever might be available for 2024. And there could be quite a bunch of players who are available at the end of next year. Let's see if there's any. We'll just skim past the West Tigers because no one wants to buy their players.
No. I wonder if Joey Manu would be available around then, because you get him, you got one of the best fullbacks in the game. I know Payne Haas would have been one that they could have targeted, but Bennett is very, very clear that you don't spend big money on forwards, which I don't know that I agree with if they're a really quality player, but so you won't see him targeting Payne Haas on big money.
No. Actually, I just saw Angus Crichton is available at the end of this year, but then I remember reading an article yesterday that said that Crichton and Cameron Murray could be targeted to play rugby union in the next World Cup, which is, I think, next year.
Yeah, I doubt that's going to happen.
I wouldn't be surprised if they sign a deal to go over there and they play like 3 Super 12s games or whatever the number, sevens or whatever it is they got now. They play like 3 of those, get picked for the Wallabies, they go in the World Cup and run 5th or whatever they do, and then come back to league.
Well, look, they'd walk into the Australian Rugby Union Test team as all rugby league players do. But yeah, I just think it'd be a really silly career move. Why would you do that? Like,
Yeah,
makes no sense.
actually, one player who's off contract at the end of next year is Latrell Mitchell.
Damn, he'd be an amazing signing.
Because that's the thing, I wouldn't be surprised if he looks at what South have got and he goes to that well first. Damien Cook.
Cook, I could see them getting because I could see South saying it's time for a change.
Yeah.
Especially when, they've got that young halfback. What's his name again? I forget his name.
Is that Taff or
No,
Tass?
no, the halfback.
Tass?
No. He doesn't play alongside Cody Walker.
I thought that was Tass. Is it someone else?
No. What's his name? Oh, I'm so bad with names. It's so terrible.
Ilias.
Yeah, that's it. Ilias.
All
right. Look, he's going all right. You can start to see he's settling into first grade. In a couple of years' time, I think he'll be a pretty handy first grade halfback, and he's going to be very young still.
Yeah.
And I could see where South say, look, we need a young hooker that we now have the ability to bring him in because, by then as some of their older players are going to be, it's definitely going to be time to move them on. So I could see them getting Cook.
Yeah. Also, Cody Walker would be free in 2024.
Yeah, but how old's he going to be in 2024?
It won't matter too much if he's got a decent squad around him. That's
True,
the main
but
thing.
True. I don't know. Like, it would be a rental. I don't know that they'd be targeting a rental.
Well, there's some other. We'll go back to the solid buys in because I just come across the Dragons. That's not a setup for a joke. Aaron Woods, Moses and Buy.
No.
Moving on. Brian To'o.
He'd be a good buy.
Charlie Staines.
I wish he would go now.
Liam Martin. Spencer Lemieux. Stephen Crichton.
Crichton's going to be up for a big contract at some point, and it's going to be a real balancing act for Penrith.
At the end of next year.
Yeah, they're going to have to decide whether you spend the big money on him, and I still don't know either way. Especially when you look at all the youngsters they've got coming through, like you get a halfback like Cleary once every, what would you say, 8 to 10 years, and I'm saying like a halfback that you can bank on, like a Cooper Cronk style halfback at the very least.
Well, the good thing about Cronk, which is what Cleary's got, pretty similarly, is an ability to avoid serious injuries.
Yeah, good kicking game. You know what you're getting out of him.
Yeah.
And I think that Cleary's ceiling's going to be higher than Cronk's.
Yes, absolutely.
But
there's also Mitch Moses.
Yeah, see, I don't buy Mitch Moses, hey? Don't buy Mitch Moses.
It's an interesting one, though. How would he go, though, under a proper coach with a good forward pack around him who understands good, processes? And that's the one thing Bennett's always done, though. He's built attack based on what the forwards, what platform they lay first.
Yeah.
He's always built his squads that way. That could be something that would work in Moses. Well, it would work in Moses' favour, but would Bennett be able to make Moses better?
Yeah, he'd have to see something in him, hey, and only Wayne Bennett knows that question. Because I look at Mitch Moses and look, I'm not Wayne Bennett. I don't know if you know that. I'm not Wayne Bennett.
Well,
I keep telling you.
We now know one person you're not.
But yeah, I look at Mitch Moses and I'm like, call me when he's won something.
Yeah. Cowboys got a lot of people off contract at the end of next year.
Yeah.
They're going to be busy.
Who have they got off contract?
Ben Condon, Scott Drinkwater, Mitchell Dunn, Brendan Elliott, Brendan Fry, Jake Granville, Ben Hampton, Peter Hiku, Lacia Musadrecki, Jeremiah Nanai, Griffith Neem, Reece Robson, Hamiso Tabuai Fidao, Murray Tuolangi, and Jermaine Tanua-Brown.
Ooh, there's a lot there that I would want.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's
there's
a lot
there.
So they've got some work to do there to obviously find out who they're letting go, who they're keeping, because that's busy.
Yeah.
The Knights themselves have got a fair few free as well, but I mean, who cares?
Yeah,
they've got to sort out their coach before they start re-signing players too.
Yeah, even their best. Well, I think he's their best player, Brayley. He's coming off that devastating injury for a hooker.
He's so damn good, and a lot of people will go, he's just come from nowhere to be as good as he is, but he was this good when he was at the Sharks. But the one thing that the Knights coaches maybe did by accident, I don't know, but the one thing they did that was really smart is they made him captain almost immediately, because he just took his game to that next level straight away and just kept it there, just rock solid, and the team just plays better when he's on the field. That's what you want your captain to be able to do, just that little bit of extra belief that you can get in the side there. And they fucking missed him when he wasn't there.
They really did. The only thing that gets me about him is, if I'm building a club, I want my hooker to be bulletproof, and I would be terrified about that Achilles.
Yeah, look, it's a 50-50 thing. I think the Achilles thing worries me more if it's a back. If a back's getting an Achilles injury, I'm not going near him. If it's a hooker, though, a lot of it can come down to what you're doing off the ground at dummy half. It's not always about the running game. You don't want any player to have Achilles injuries, but it's a more insanely bigger issue if it's a back that's got it than a forward or a half. Well, a hooker anyway.
Yeah.
Unless you're a beach sprint champion, that's a bit different.
We don't have any of those in rugby league, though.
I don't think so. I mean, surely if we did have, someone would have mentioned it somewhere.
Probably would have heard about it.
Yeah. Who was the Storm got off? Asifa Solomona.
He'd be a good signing.
Kamikamitha, although he might be about to re-sign. Nick Meaney, Moroa, Cameron Munster.
Well, he's got to be their whale, hasn't he? He's got to be the whale. Yeah. And there was a lot of talk that he might have gone, but for next year. But it's going to be hard for the Storm to hold on to him. But the Storm tend to hold on to the ones they want to hold on to as well.
Yeah,
like the only one they've ever really it felt like they had to lose Inglis because of the salary cap stuff, but the only one that they felt like they lost that they wanted to keep was Falau.
Yeah. Who else we got here? There's no one there worth looking at. The Titans. Just go past that. The Sharks. Sione Katoa, Will Kennedy.
He'd be good.
Mulatalo.
Yeah, he'd be solid, yeah.
Talakai, Trindle, Tig Wilson, who's really come on this year as well. There's some handy depth players there as well. Like they're playing in the Shark 17 and they're doing very good jobs there. But if you're building a team of elite players, those guys are still good enough to be on the bench or depth players as well, and pushing for that spot in the top side. I mean, it's hard to argue with it. They're a team in the top four, so these are the players that, and these are the squads and stuff that Bennett would be looking at. The Bulldogs, Matt Burton's got a player option for 2024. So if he wants to get out of the Bulldogs at the end of next year, they could go after him as well.
If you had to, okay, I got a question for you. $1 million for Cameron Munster or $900,000 for Matt Burton?
Munster.
I'd go Burton. I know, Munster's better player, no doubt. Munster's different, a completely different level of player.
Do you think though that Burton is only worth $100,000 less than Munster?
The reason I gave them prices is, Munster, like $1 million, it's hard to say over $1 million if you're a top player in rugby league. But if you're under $1 million, I can see where you push for the highest amount you can get. And I can see where Burton is like, look, I've proved myself. I've won a premiership, right? So I've got the experience. I've proven myself as a playmaker at the Bulldogs. If you want me, you got to pay to get me. I understand that. I don't think it's $100,000 less of a player than Munster. I think he's much less of a player than that, but I think that would be the price.
But the other thing is too, I think Munster's worth more than $1 million. So getting him for $1 million is cheap, and I think Burton at 900 is probably just a touch, a touch over.
Yeah, I agree. The interesting thing for Burton is going to be if Penrith can make him an offer.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
Yeah, I have a feeling there's a few players that the Panthers have let go that we might see them come back to the Panthers on a good contract too. But just that the Panthers will say, look, we went in this one direction, we won with it, but we think we can get better going. Like, I think Burton alongside Cleary is rude.
What happens if they sign Burton, but it comes at the cost of Crichton because they go, look, we can't have both; they're too expensive.
I take that 100%.
Either we keep Crichton, and we have to sign another centre because we've got no others at the club, so we've got to get someone who's a little bit cheaper.
I love Stephen Crichton. I think he's a great player, but I would do that. I would do that move if it come down to if Crichton wanted, say, $750,000, or I could get Burton and I'm paying overs $900,000 for Burton. I would get Burton with the idea that number one, we've seen him at centre. He plays great as a centre, especially in that Panthers side.
All right. What if the offer? Okay, there's been some movements that are going around. Okay. I'm obviously trying to paint a picture that you'll say no to. Okay. Crichton says, I will stay, but only for $1 million. And Burton says, I will only go for $1 million. And the Bulldogs say, we'll let you have Burton for $1 million, but you also have to take his new centre partner, Jared Croker, as well, for free.
Canberra Raiders, Jared Croker.
Yeah, they've got rid of him. They don't need him. They've moved on.
Well, Matt
Croker's gone looking for another club. He's gone to the Dogs thinking there's an in for me there. And the Bulldogs have seen him play and they're gone, we don't need this guy. Let's put him on someone else's contract and we will pay Croker's entire wage while he's at some other club. You can have Croker for free if you want Burton, and you've got to pay $1 million for the two of them all up.
Matt Burton can get fucked.
That's all we need to hear. It's been a while, that's all. Yeah, people need to hear that every now and then. Just to know that we're consistent.
Yeah, Matt Burton could get fucked in that regard. But yeah, I think that I just wouldn't be shocked. And I think the Jerome Luai thing is, and I love Jerome Luai as a player.
I reckon you missed an opportunity there.
Yeah.
You could have just said, you know what, we say yes, we'll take Burton. We will hold conversations with Crichton for now because as soon as you say yes to Burton and you get Croker, you say, Justin, we've got a centre for you, mate. He's a goal kicker too. I know you've been having trouble with goal kicking. You want him? Yeah, if you can give us $1 million, you can have him.
Yeah, but then Justin goes to the coach.
Justin goes, I've got a centre for you. I've already paid for him. We've got Jared Croker. And you're like, and you go, we've just got $1 million. Stephen, do you want to stay?
No, but then Potato, right? He goes to the coach and says, hey, we've got a goal kicking centre that can't defend here. And the coach and the coach who's cunted everyone, he's probably cunted Benji Marshall by that point. He says, is he a back rower?
Can he play at 5'8"?
Is he about 105 kilos in between about 5 different positions?
Yeah.
Because then I'd be interested. But outside of that,
now we're starting to see that this whole plan was just nothing but a Tyrone Peachy ploy to keep himself employed. I see what you're doing, Tyrone, and I tell you what, well done.
It was weird. I was watching Tyrone Peachy walk off the field after that loss on the weekend, and I was just thinking to myself, like, what was the plan here?
There's
Like,
no plan.
yeah, it's
There's
so
no plan.
weird. It's so
Peach,
weird.
Peachy's now the safest guy at the Tigers.
Well, that's what I was thinking when he walked off the field. I was like, uh, uh, damn, he's one of their top 5 players.
He's a lock. He's a lock for anywhere you want him to be. He is locked in now.
It's so bad. Oh, it's so bad.
See? This is why the Sharks need to be worried about Talakai,
Mm.
because Sheens will be after him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a Tim Sheen's wet dream.
Oh, yeah. Kurt Capewell will be after him. He's played a bit of centre.
Yep.
Sure, he can play 5'8". And look, he's passed the ball once or twice, so fuck, we can put him in at hooker as well if need be. Josh Maguire's played hooker. Get him in the side, he could probably play 5'8".
Bring him back from Warrington in 2 or 3 years' time when he's like 39.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Man, this could go on.
It's too easy to fall into this trap, hey?
It is. It's a whole different type of West Tigers rant. People have been listening to this for a while, hearing the same rant from me all the time. A lot of you people never had to go through what the West Tigers dealt with when Tim Sheens was last coach. And so you're going to get those different rants coming up soon.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking on the weekend, all the players that aren't at the West Tigers, like basically right now, who were in their team at the start of the year. And it's not a bad list.
Too shabby.
Oh, man.
Yes.
But yeah, look, I think Wayne Bennett's done an all right job, as good of a job as you can expect from an expansion club that had the time frame that they had. So, look, the media's going to attack them, but that's all they do anyway.
And he's done the smart thing about it. He's not signed anyone up to stupidly long deals. He's made sure that he's got the squad that he has signed for 1 or 2 years. And so every one of those players are playing for their contract, which means he's going to get the best out of them in those 2 years, which should be enough to keep them competitive, attract those bigger names he needs, and you just roll on from there.
And there's no albatross contract in there. There's no Ash Taylor contract, you know.
No, there's none of that. He's smart enough to know not to do that.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought Callan Ponga would end up there. That didn't end up being the case, but if they had signed Ponga, he would have been an issue for them. They would have had to have had some meetings about that.
I thought they'd probably go after Reece Walsh a lot harder. I was surprised they didn't push too hard in that direction.
Yeah, it just seems like Bennett said, I want experienced forwards and we'll do our best from there. And that feels like what he did, you know. I think it's not bad.
I think you'll find too that there'll be a lot of players who'll be using the Dolphins as a bargaining chip to get out of contracts or get upgraded contracts. And that alone will force, especially some of those Queensland clubs, and to a lesser extent the Storm, given they're relying a lot on Queensland players as well. It'll also force them into having to let go of some other players in order to accommodate these upgraded contracts, which the Dolphins will capitalise on.
Yeah, 100%.
So they're only going to go from strength to strength. So don't buy too much into what the media's howling and bawling and bitching about.
No.
They'll be fine.
Now, there was a story I saw where the NRL has upgraded some of the suspensions that can happen in the WNRL, and WNRL players are unhappy about that because it will see them, like a 3-game suspension sees them missing a big chunk of their season, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, before the expansion they only had 4 teams, so they only played 6 games a year, and then the finals. I think now the season might be going out to 10 or 12 games. Yeah, you lose 3 games. There's a fair whack of the season gone, and they're not being paid huge coin.
No,
it's pretty nuts. And to be honest, I don't know how many suspensions have actually been in the WNRL. They play the game very clean.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many, hey, but it's a kind of catch-22 where, like if you're a WNRL player and you take someone's head off, and they say, well, we're going to give you the percentage of the season equivalent of what would happen in the NRL. So you're suspended for 57 minutes. You can't do that. You kind of still got to give a week-by-week suspension, and it's not going to be good enough to say, well, you did exactly what Nathan Cleary did, but because the season's shorter, we're only going to give you 1 week. You can't do that.
So there's going to be 5 rounds of the NRLW this year.
That might be because they've got the World Cup that caps it at the end of the year, so they can't go later in the year, and they're obviously fitting in the 2 seasons in 1 calendar year.
That's right, yeah. Obviously, I haven't got the draw for next year yet, but next year will be bigger because there's more teams in there.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're trying to get it so that I assume the NRLW Grand Final will be on the same day as the NRL Grand Final.
Yeah, I would think so, huh?
That would make sense. Final round of the NRLW is the 18th of September. So that seems consistent.
By the way, that reminds me, in terms of grand finals and all the stadium stoushes that were going on.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we should talk about the incident at Leichhardt Oval where there was I think it was some junior rugby league, rugby union match.
Yeah, it was a junior rugby union competition that was going on.
And there was some people that were basically leaning on a guardrail, and the guardrail gave way. And
talk about tempting fate.
Yeah, and a bunch of them fell face first, and it was about, I would say, it was about 1.5 meter drop.
Yeah, about that.
There were a couple of broken bones and some concussions and stuff like that. Thankfully, no one was really badly injured.
Well, given it was a rugby union crowd, everyone there was a doctor, so it was fine.
They all landed on their cheese plates.
That's right. So, look, the platter took a lot of the heavy beating. From what I've heard, not a single bottle of wine was broken. So that's the most important part there.
I've never seen so many Chardonnay glasses up in the air trying not to spill it at one point.
That's right. They not a drop of Grange was dropped anywhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, thankfully there was no victims in this whole matter. And
look, leaning on the fence was probably a bad choice, but so too was attending a rugby union game.
Yeah, look, if they're smart too, they probably would have tried to go side on, where they could have landed on their wallets and would have had that nice hefty wad of cash to cushion the blow, and they fell.
True.
Didn't think that through, but then, what do you expect?
But look, that ground, we've talked about it before, and I get that Tigers fans love it. You probably love it too. Do you love it?
It's weird. I love it, but not because I think of the whole experience as great and sort of stuff. I'm a fucking historian,
Mm-hmm.
So I like the history of the game. I like checking these things out. Just because I like going and checking it out, it's like going to a museum. I like seeing all of the great stuff in the museum. Doesn't mean I want to see them in use. I don't go to the War Museum and see that boat that's in the I think it's in the foyer there. It's got the bullet holes in it that came from the landing at Gallipoli.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that and think that would be a great vessel to have a P&O Funstar ship cruise thing on it and go around the world in that. It should be something that we go and check out every now and then. It'd be great if they refurbished it and had it as a place for a rugby league museum.
Mm.
That's what I'd have for those sort of things. You can have events there, but you don't. The problem they've got with Leichhardt is, and this is going back nearly 20 years at least, I'm sure of it. One of the main stands there got condemned because of the white ants had gone through it all. It was so unsafe, even to go near it. They cordoned it all off. There's ropes all around. You can't sit in it. You can't go walking past it or through it. You've got to go around it everywhere for good reason. So to think that it was okay to go and lean on a paling fence there, going, "Oh, the white ants going to come over here."
Oh, no, it was a steel. It was a steel fence. Hey, it was a rusted steel.
It looked like a white wooden picket fence. Was it steel?
Yeah, I saw it was I saw pictures of it, and it was the bolts basically and the collar that was holding it in. It was all rusted and fucked. Yeah.
That's probably because everyone couldn't get to the toilet block in time, so they just pissed on whatever else they could find.
Well, it's a rugby union crowd, so they urinate. They don't piss, they urinate.
Maybe someone did spill their Chardonnay. Weaken the steel. The ground is in horrible state of disrepair because of that. They're constantly been asking for upgrades, constantly being knocked back. The local council there have not been very open to modifying the ground as far as I can recall. So the upgrades that have been put forward, mostly to make it a regular NRL venue, have been getting knocked back because the local council thinks it should stay the way it looks.
Believe it or not,
too much.
Local councillors were on TV upset at the New South Wales state government for not putting money into it.
Well,
fucking unbelievable.
But the state government, the local council and the state government have been bickering for ages about how the upgrade should work and where the money should be spent and what should be done to the ground. They've never, ever come to an agreement on how it should be or done, which is why they never get the funding.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying that's fact. That's how I see it. I don't live in the area anymore, and I stopped paying attention to the news about it because I just got sick of the same shit being said all the time. But pretty sure it was along those lines. Happy to be corrected, but they'd been bickering over it for years. I remember going to Leichhardt the first time was in 2004, 2005. And I went along and helped hand out some pamphlets for some organisation out there called Stop the Rot. It was about trying to get funding to deal with the white ants problem in the stand there. Because that was not long after it got condemned. And they were trying to get some money to, I suppose, knock it down and rebuild it as a steel structure, not a wooden one.
Yeah.
But still try and make it still look the same. And I think the local council is having issues with that being done. And I don't know why. But it just seemed all nonsense. Just a lot of insane amount of red tape and bickering for no reason, and no one was getting anywhere out of it. And here we are, 18 years later, having achieved nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. And now they're complaining because, we don't get any state government funding. We're going, this has gone through Liberal and Labor state governments now. It's not even about what political party's in power. It's entirely about the local council not knowing what the fuck they want to do, other than bitch and moan about not getting all this money that they want.
Yeah,
sick of it.
And it's like, it's a poorly placed ground, and it's
there's no public transport near it other than a bus route.
Yeah, and it's used half the time by one club who says they've got 3 different home grounds in Sydney. And one of those I'm being generous here. And one of those home grounds is a brand new 30,000 all-seater stadium. And the other one's out at Campbelltown.
They're building a new one though,
Where?
Penrith.
Well,
how have you not heard about this?
One of the good
Panthers
things,
play there every week. How did you not know they were building a West Tigers home ground there?
Look, one of the good things that come out of all of this news is that the New South Wales government has said the Panthers ground is going ahead, and then there will be no more stadium upgrades, which I was cheering about. Not for selfish reasons, mostly for personal reasons that only affect me.
Hashtag our jungle.
Oh man.
Hashtag new era.
100% the potato's going to try that, hey?
You heard it here first. It's going to happen.
No doubt. There's no fucking doubt he's going to try that shit.
No doubt at all. I was in Penrith before those guys were.
100%. I'll go to that game. Fuck it.
I'll be keen to go to that game.
Yeah, fly up.
I'll get a shirt made, just has our jungle on it.
And I'll get one that says, no, our jungle. Oh, shit. Fuck. He's definitely going to do that. He's that petty. He would fucking do that.
Yeah, ink that in.
Yeah. What a dickhead. Yeah. I can't wait for that to happen now. But yeah, that ground, I think it should be turned into something along the lines of a venue like Henson Park, where it's like, look, this is what it is, and we're going to work with what it is. I would cut back some of the facilities that are there. Like, I would just make it three sides of the ground are hills. You got a little grandstand, get some toilets in there and stuff, and have it as a New South Wales Cup venue, because that it's not good enough for the NRL anymore.
No, it's not. It's not. And that's been the case for a long time. And we've said it before. I love attending games at Leichhardt.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really particularly had an enjoyable experience going to Campbelltown to watch games.
Mm-hmm.
That's just personal reasons. But if I'm being completely honest, if the West Tigers are smart about their long-term future, they are moving permanently to Campbelltown.
Yeah.
They can't keep doing this airy-fairy, moving around everywhere thing, because it's just, look where it's got them. Yeah. Right where they started. They've gone nowhere. They had a brief moment of glory in 2005 and a brief hiccup of success, because that's what it is. Tell you what, that could be the name of the podcast.
A brief hiccup of success.
Yep. And that's it. The rest has just been dire misery. And it's because they've got nothing solid. There's no solid platform for this club anywhere.
Yeah, look, you can't build a solid foundation when you're moving.
No. Yeah. Their base is at a different place to where they're trained, to where they play their home games. All of them. They've got home games everywhere. There's no soul to this club. There's no centre to it. There's no base that they're located at. People sit there and complain about the Dolphins not having a name to them. We're going, the West Tigers have a name, kind of, and they're all over the fucking shop.
Yeah.
Why isn't anyone going on about the fact that they don't have a proper location and a base? They go after the Dolphins, but not the Tigers. I don't get that. That's stupid. Anyway,
it really is. It really is.
We've tread all over that ground before.
That's very true. Is there any other news that's popped up in the last couple of days? I can't think of anything else. Yeah, I can't think of anything else either. Let's have a quick look at the NRL ladder before we wrap things up. So the Panthers are still out in front. That's all I wanted to say. No, not really. So the Panthers, they've all but wrapped up the minor premiership at this point. And, the Sharks, I guess they could still jag second place, but damn, the Cowboys are a good team. I'm really impressed with the Cowboys.
How many you got left? Is it 3? It is 3, isn't it?
Or is it 4?
3 rounds left.
Oh, is that?
Oh, hang on. Oh, no, 4 including this week. So, yeah. So there's a total of 8 points available. Which means, the worst Panthers can happen is they lose all their games and the Cowboys win all their games, and Panthers can finish second. Yeah,
I can't imagine that their for and against would allow the Sharks anywhere near them.
Unless the Sharks are just absolute. Well, I mean, they're playing the Tigers this week.
Oh shit, that's a problem.
There's plus 60.
Yeah.
It's the thing that's interesting is that the Storm are out of the hunt for the minor premiership.
Yeah.
As are the Eels. No surprise there. It looks like I'd imagine the Eels should be the last team that should be considered safe in the finals hunt.
I could see the Rabbitohs jumping the Storm and Eels, hey?
Look, it's possible. But surely the Eels, I mean, as much as they've got a horrible run home, and their points differential is dire, they are a win clear of the Roosters and the Broncos. That's a good little buffer. 2 wins clear of the Roosters. All those teams in the top 8 already. They're 3 wins clear of the 9th place Raiders. The Raiders have 1 loss. That's it. It's all over.
Yeah, and
I mean, I'm sorry. The Raiders have 1 loss. Then the Eels are locked in. But I can't see the Raiders picking up any consistent form that's going to be worthwhile having if they lose 1 or 2 more games.
No, it's really basically for that last spot. I think it realistically is just Roosters versus Raiders. And look, the Roosters play the Cowboys this weekend. I don't think they'll win that. And the Raiders played the Dragons. And it's just a matter of how I've got no idea how the Raiders' actual players are going to react to this week.
That is such a hard game to tip to because the Dragons are it's guesswork picking them every week.
Yeah, sometimes they'll put in a really solid performance and other times it's like, and look, if the Dragons, weirdly, if they win this game, they could still be in with the shot if the Roosters lose. And the Sea Eagles would be in with a shot.
Manly and the Dragons are still mathematically a chance of making the finals. But yeah, they need Roosters and kind of Broncos. If those two teams start losing games, only because the Roosters are 2 points closer and the Broncos' points difference is dreadful, makes them both in the firing line for the teams below them on the ladder.
I just wish that the Bulldogs had fired Trent Barrett earlier because they're coming home strong, and I think that
if they had fired him in the preseason, they'd be in the finals, huh?
Oh, 100%. I think they'd be locked into the finals. I think we wouldn't even be talking about them as will they make it. I think they'd be in there.
Absolutely.
As for the wooden spoon, who do you think it's going to be? Do you reckon that the Tigers will get it, or
I don't know.
Titans?
And I'm not going to be biased here. The Tigers, though, have been far more competitive in their last 4 games. Their defence actually looks a little bit better at last. To the point that there's now 4 teams with a worse points differential than them on the ladder. They still haven't conceded 500 points yet this year. They're very close, but they're doing well to stay competitive and not leak points as much. The Titans are just so... I don't think they care anymore. They're just playing whatever.
Yeah, they've given up, hey?
Yeah. The Warriors are coasting by on what they did earlier in the year. I'm not too sure those bottom 3 teams change around too much. The only thing that will change is if the Knights get worse and fall down below them.
Yeah.
I can't see the bottom 3 changing a great deal. And those bottom 4 teams are exactly where they deserve to be. And they can go in whatever order they want down the bottom there. They deserve whatever they are. They are the 4 worst teams this year comfortably.
Yeah, very easily. I think that...
I would like to see the Bulldogs above the Dragons. I think they deserve that.
Yeah, man. They're probably in better form than the Dragons, but I'd say they're probably in better form than Seagulls and maybe even the Raiders. Like, it's crazy how good they're going.
And Parramatta.
Considering.
They're in better form than Parramatta.
Let's just swap the Bulldogs for Parramatta. I don't think anyone would complain about that.
I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I just think that last place spot, it's going to be really interesting because you know that the West Tigers management has this thing of like, we've never won the wooden spoon.
I know. That was why I really wanted them to get it this year. Because I went,
you
know what? They don't have any more excuses to try and justify their existence anymore because they got the spoon. And fucking Titans.
Bastards.
Someone always comes along and saves their ass.
Bastards.
Conspiracy, I tell you, an inside job.
Anyway,
that's probably why they lobbied so hard to get an extra 2 points for that game against the Cowboys.
Well,
that'll put us up to 14th.
So exactly, and that's the thing. Like they were literally arguing about getting extra points to put them up to 14th place. It's so dumb.
You know what the NRL should do is say, you know what? Because you dared, you had the temerity to demand that we change a result like we've never done before. We're going to take two competition points off you. No, you know what? We'll take 3 off you. Yeah. Oh, look, Tigers are last.
That would have been really good. But at least the books are balanced.
That's right. Oh, the books are great.
Yeah.
The books are great. Plenty of spuds all around. Yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's been great having you sitting and listening to the conversation me and Andrew have had.
Yes, and do as we did at the start of the episode. You know, make sure you go and just let it out. Let people know you've been a weak gutted dog, and repent your sins. You'll feel better for it.
Exactly. It's so free.
I mean, free to do it again now.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a weak gutted kid anymore. Fantastic. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you check us out on the socials on Instagram and Twitter at Fergo Freak Pod. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, MySpace. So check us out on all of those. And we'll catch you tomorrow where we'll be doing our preview for the upcoming rounds at round 21. So tune in for that. Thanks, everyone. Catch you next time.
Palmerbet with the big don't argue. Punters
Punters will love that. Download our app today and enjoy tackle-busting benefits with great odds, more markets and same-game multi every NRL match at Palmerbet. Gamble responsibly. For Gamblers' Help, call 1-800-858-858.